It is my distinct honor and pleasure to invite you and welcome you to the 2019 International Conference of Future Problem Solving Program International. Look at this great group. We are very excited to be at a beautiful new campus to us, the University of Massachusetts. They have been very hospitable and helpful so far, and we are very, very honored to be here on this campus as we celebrate 45 years of problem solving. In our annual tradition, we will kick off these opening ceremonies with our procession of flags, starting with our affiliate flags and then with our national flags, representing all of the groups of problem solvers that are here with us this evening.
Representing the state of Alabama. I'm Olivia Carroll from the biggest state in all of America, Alaska. I'm Grace Aiken from California.
I'm Nen Chai. I'm from Shanghai, China.
I'm Olga Klienka from Colorado. I'm Trevor Hooker and I'm from Connecticut. I'm Grace Aiken and I'm from Florida.
I'm Ethan Perry. We're from Indiana.
Nathaniel Amancy, and I'm from Iowa.
I'm Blake Crawford, and I'm from Kentucky.
Daniel Chen, and I'm from Macau. My name is Luis Gobernman from Malaysia.
My name is Brandon Kim, and I'm from Maryland.
My name is Jacob Crossan, and I'm from Massachusetts.
I'm Isaac Rowe from Detroit, Michigan. I'm Jocelyn Filiaro, and I'm from Minnesota.
My name is Faisal Muhammad, and I'm from Mississippi.
I'm Haley Holt, and I'm from Missouri.
I'm Piper Oswald, and I'm from Nebraska.
I'm Neil Chethery. I'm from New Hampshire.
I'm Emily Jacobo, and I'm from New Jersey.
Hi, I'm Frankie Burr, and I'm from New South Wales. McGee, and I'm from South Carolina.
I'm Anna Grace Buskin, and I'm from Texas. I'm Olivia Marcos, and I'm from Thailand.
I am Manu and I am from Turkey.
I'm from Texas, and I'm representing the Turkish Republic. I'm Alan Joseph, and I'm from Utah.
G'day, I'm Mackenzie and I'm from Victoria.
I'm Jocelyn Tran, and I'm from Virginia. I'm Cynthia Ganesh, and I'm from Washington State.
I'm Amy Ryan and I'm from Western Australia. Hi, I'm Ruby Block and I'm from West Virginia. Hi, I'm Lindsay Dysack and I'm from Wisconsin.
Next, we have our 14 national flag bearers, starting with Australia and Oliver Weeding. From China, Wang Yishan. From France, Maxence Morel. Naya Beta. From Korea, Da-hee Kang. From Malaysia, Onranica Krongyut. From New Zealand, Ewan Wong. From Norway, Alexander Mitrokin. Portugal, Emma Ferrara. From the Republic of Georgia, Nini Chanklasiani. Mason Chu. From Thailand, Nitid Chawara Watana. And representing our newest affiliate from Turkey, Doruk Ayadogan. And representing the United States of America, John Wilkinson. Okay, while the flag bearers are receding, I have the great honor of introducing our special guest speaker tonight. He is Dan Ward. He's the author of 2 fantastic books, one called The Simplicity Cycle, a field guide to making things better without making them worse, published in 2015, and Fire, How Fast, Inexpensive, Restrained, and Elegant Methods Ignite Innovation, published in 2014. Dan is an innovation catalyst at Mitri Corporation. He previously served for more than 20 years in the United States Air Force, where he retired at the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. He holds engineering degrees and received the Bronze Star Medal for his service in Afghanistan. He lives in Massachusetts with his wife and 2 children. Please honor me in welcoming Dan.
Wow. Welcome, problem solvers. Yeah, give it another big hand. Amazing ceremonies. My name's Dan Ward. It is an honor to be here with so many of you here tonight. Can we go ahead and pull up my next slide here? So I realize that the name of this group is Future Problem Solvers, but I'd like to take us on a little trip into the past. We're going to take a look at some past problem solvers and see what lessons they might have for us for the work we're doing today over the next few days. You may not recognize these two gentlemen on the screen above me and to my right and to my left. Maybe this next picture will make it a little easier to recognize who they are. Move on to the next one. Yeah, this is Orville and Wilbur Wright. We may know them as the people who built the first airplane, but did you know they were not the first people to try to build an airplane? There were a whole bunch of people who came along before them and tried to solve this problem of flight. Turns out flying is a really hard problem to solve. So we're not going to talk about Orville and Wilbur tonight. We're going to talk about people who are way more interesting than that. Next chart here. For example, this gentleman from Belgium in the late 1600s built this contraption. And apparently it worked for making short downward flights assisted by gravity. I'm pretty sure that's a fancy way of saying falling. And I don't know about you, but when I look at this, I really want to make one of those and take some short downward flights assisted by gravity. So if you do make one of these and you try it yourself, please send me a picture. Next one. Now, the Wright brothers built their first flight in 1903, their first airplane, but in 1809, a clockmaker from Switzerland, a century before the Wright brothers came along, built this, and apparently by flapping his wings really hard, flew 54 feet in the air. That's amazing. It's also a little bit not true. Turns out what this drawing doesn't show, and what the newspaper reports of the time did not mention, he was attached to a hot air balloon that had like 90 pounds of lift. So he wasn't flying, he was dangling, and there's a difference. Give me next chart here. Speaking of not flying, in 1842, Mr. Henson drew this picture, and on the basis of this drawing, made some really cool posters, and incorporated the first commercial airline. He had a lot of fun trying to sell tickets for a plane that did not exist, and if he had built it, would not have flown. 60 years before the Wright brothers had a working airplane, Mr. Henson had a commercial airline. Amazing. But he had not even built a small model to test the design. Speaking of things that are a little bit off, let's take a look at this next one. Again, with the late 1800s, a French nobleman named Count d'Esterno designed this glider, which was actually a pretty cool design. This probably would have well, let's not say flown, but he could have made some nice downward flights assisted by gravity. The problem was, although his design was actually pretty solid, people made fun of him. They said he was, this was evidence of a mild lunacy, which is a polite way of saying he just wasn't quite right. And because people made fun of him, although he was on a good path, and he had plenty of money to build these things and do some tests, he stopped. He gave up his experiments in the face of ridicule. He might have made some important insights and lessons and progress if he had only persisted. Next one. Now, this one might not look like much, but wait until you hear what happened to the guy who built it and tried to fly with it. Louis Mouillard was a French artist and inventor. He was living in Algeria at the time. And he built this set of wings that was basically a hang glider, except it stuck out from his waist. So imagine strapping this thing across his waist, and he jumped off a little hill over a ditch. And let me tell you how he wrote about his experience. He jumped, he said, "My feet did not come to earth. I was gliding on the air and made vain attempts to land. I dangled just 1 foot from the soil, but I could not reach it." Oh, horrors. He was terrified of what was going to happen. Maybe he would never land. He would just fly around a foot off the ground for the rest of his life. No, the scary thing was to avoid ridicule, to avoid people making fun of him. He was doing his experiments out on the back portion of his farm and nobody knew where he was. If he had broken a leg. Who knows when they would have found him to bring him some help. But when he landed, he immediately got over his horror, and like a good engineer, a good problem solver, you know what he did? He immediately measured the distance between where he took off and where he landed. It was 138 feet, which is 18 feet longer than the Wright brothers' first powered flight. This next experiment is from 1875, Mr. Moy, who spent a lot of money, and built this very large, complicated, fragile contraption to see if maybe he could build a flying machine. It was so expensive, and so complicated, and so fragile that when it came time to test it, he had two options. He could have it go down a hill and see if it could go fast enough to maybe produce some lift and take off. Or he could play it safe and just pull it along a flat part of the ground and not go too fast and not break it. That's what he chose to do, but he didn't go fast enough to ever find out if this thing would have worked. He was too afraid of this big expensive thing getting broken. So he decided to play it safe, not break it. But that meant he also didn't test it. One more click here. And just in case anybody's curious, that's an actual photograph, one of the first photos of a flying machine that anybody ever invented. This next one we're going to see here is not a photograph, this is a drawing. In the early 1900s, lots of people tried to make aviettes, basically flying bicycles. They attach a kite to a bicycle and see if it would fly. This one is imaginary. The next click, that's a photograph of an actual aviette. This one's real. He flew about 30 feet, about 6 feet off the ground. But let's talk for a minute about how wings work. As the air moves over a wing, it creates lift. If you go fast enough, the lift exceeds your weight. And so the machine and the rider, if you pedal fast enough, will take you off the ground. But then what? As soon as the wheels leave the ground, you slow down, there's drag, the wind will slow you down, and you produce less lift, and you begin to descend. This is good news, because there's no way to steer this thing. That's why we need engines and steering and better designs. All right, one more click here. What do you think about this design? Anybody flown in an aircraft that looks anything remotely like this? So in the airplane design world, there's a saying that if it looks good, it flies good. General rule of thumb, there's something visually appealing about a really sleek aerodynamic design. This one didn't fly so good. Next one. And I don't have much to say about this either, other than it's kind of interesting to look at. But don't build planes that look like this, though. One more. Now, if one set of wings is a good idea and two sets of wings is even better, people thought, what about 20 sets of wings? The Venetian blind approach to aircraft design. Again, this was not the right solution to this problem. All right, one more click. Now, those are interesting and fun pictures to look at, but now we've come to the guy that I really want to tell you about. The one I hope you will all learn from and imitate in the work that you're going to do over the next few days. He was more responsible for successfully solving the problem of flight than maybe anybody other than Orville and Wilbur themselves. So what did he do? Well, next click, in 1870, when he was 20 years old, working in his backyard with some sticks and paper and rubber bands, he built this little toy that he called a helicopter. Not everybody called it that, of course. They were a pair of brothers named Orville and Wilbur. Their dad brought one of these home to them. They nicknamed it the Bat. They took it apart, they put it back together again, they broke it, they fixed it, they experimented with it, and years later, as adults, they looked back at this toy and said, playing with that, that was the moment that sparked their interest in building flying machines. So Alphonse Pénaud built and designed and sold these toys, and unbeknownst to him, inspired the kids who would go on to become adults, who went on to build the world's first airplane. That's not even the coolest thing he did. One more chart here. If you've ever played with a rubber band powered airplane, you have Alphonse Pénaud to thank for it. He invented the rubber band powered airplane some 30 years before the Wright brothers had their first flight. In fact, Orville was born in 1871, the year that this was invented. Now this little thing might not look like much, but this was actually a super big deal because it helped answer some really, really hard questions and solve some really hard problems. One of the questions that people just didn't have an answer to yet was, is it possible to build a flying machine? So give me one more click. Nobody had built an airplane before. We didn't know if it could even be done. A lot of people said it was just impossible. Alphonse Pénaud thought it might be possible, and he was smart enough to not start with big, expensive, complicated, full-size machines. Instead, he built these little models in his backyard to answer more fundamental questions, such as, next chart, what should an airplane look like? As we saw from the earlier pictures, there were a lot of guesses about what an airplane would look like. We tried a whole lot of different things all around the world. This is pretty close to what airplanes look like today. But remember, he was working in the 1870s, and this design was still a guess. But in his experiments, he was going after even more fundamental questions that nobody had answered to, and some people hadn't even asked yet. And he answered them. Specifically, one more click. Where should the wings attach to the body? Should they be towards the front or towards the back or somewhere in the middle? People didn't know because people hadn't collected the data. They hadn't done the experiments. So one more click, you can see with a design like this, he could experiment sliding the wings to the very front and see how well does that fly. Slide the wings to the very back, how well does that go? Put them in the middle and do the same experiment again. He could very quickly, very easily, very inexpensively do some experiments in his backyard to experimentally demonstrate the answer to this problem, to prove that the best place to put the wing was right there in the middle. This is the sort of thing engineers do. One more click. We build models, we do experiments to collect data about how different designs perform. And so this chart shows some different arrangements you could try. Long or short wings, towards the front, towards the back. And Alphonse Pénaud experimented with them all. One more click. So he was able to do all those different setups, swapping out wings, different positions, different styles. He was doing really big science, really hard science. He was answering questions that had gone unanswered for hundreds of years. And he was just 21 years old. And what's cool about all of this, one more chart, is you can build one of these too. You can do this exact same experiment in your backyard or here on the campus of UMass Amherst with materials that you have around the house. Or, one last click here. If you stop by Zippy's, you can get your instruction sheet and materials to build your own model, your own version of Alphonse Pénaud's Planophore, his early flying machine. When you do this, I want you to keep in mind you are recreating an aviation experiment from 1871. And as you do this, I hope you have fun. There's something magical about playfulness, and the best innovators, the best problem solvers are always playful. So play, explore, have a good time with it. And secondly, I hope this story and this model that you're going to build is a reminder that the path to solving big problems, solving really hard problems, problems that we're not even sure can be solved or have answers, the path to finding those solutions often runs through simple models and quick experiments that anybody can do. So I hope you learn a lot over the next few days. I hope you meet some interesting and amazing people, and I hope you have a lot of fun. Thank you again so much, everybody. Have a great night.
So speaking of Zippy Mart, we have some really great stuff over there, and we don't want Dan to forget us. So we have the official conference t-shirt for you. All of our affiliates and states and programs are on the back. But at the bottom it says, problem solving will never be extinct. Wear this with pride, think of us often. Thank you. Part of our 40-year celebration is celebrating the great students that have been through the program. Whether it was last year or 5 years ago or 20 years ago, our alumni come back to Future Problem Solving as volunteers, as evaluators, as coaches, and as directors. They have a very fun skit planned for you this evening. So at this time, I would like to welcome some of our alumni to the stage to give you a little entertainment about future problem solving.
The world is facing catastrophe. The year is 10 years after 5 years, prior to 3 subsequent years after 2040, which makes it sometime in the future. Now, this is the 70th anniversary of the Future Problem Solving Conference, and we have a problem, an absolute unmitigated tragedy. But do not worry, we have a plan, an action plan. Now you see, at the 45th International Future Problem Solving Conference, we mastered human de-extinction. And now we are going to put it into practice and bring back our future problem solving alumni, our experts, to solve this problem. Now, de-extinction is very complicated, way too complicated for you to understand. So, I'm just going to pull this lever.
What the fuzzy?
Don't worry. It's all good. Your team is on its way. My action plan has 2 stages. And for the second stage, we will pull the lever. Look, I know you're upset, it's alright. You see, this was a problem to overcome in our action plan, and we had a solution. Pull the lever! 3rd time lucky. Haha, it worked. Now we have a team to solve the problem.
Did someone say solving problems?
Are we going to solve the problem of knowledge explosion like we did in 1975?
No, we already solved that in 1976. Is it solving the problem of hypnosis and psychic energy like at the IC in 1980?
Really? We predicted that one a year ago. As if you're both wrong.
We're solving extraterrestrial life like in 1997. The truth is out there.
No. In 2018, we had moved on to much more complex and sophisticated topics like philanthropical.
but no. This problem is far worse than any single one of those, and today we need each of your future problem-solving skills to solve this.
Like critical analysis skills?
Creative and future thinking.
Teamwork. It makes the dream work.
For our fantastic talent for making tinfoil hats.
Indeed. These are all very important because today we will be solving the problem.
We don't even need to know what the problem is. We already have solutions.
Nanobots.
Create a religion.
A time machine.
No. Just take a magic pill.
Look, these are all very good ideas, but unfortunately irrelevant to this problem. You see, at the 70th anniversary, we have the biggest problem ever. We have solved all the problems. There are no topics left to solve. The problem is, we have no problems.
Wait. I have a time machine. And I heard that the 45th anniversary problem solvers were the best problem solvers. So what if we go back and ask them?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's just a jump to the left and then a step to the right. Let's do homework again.
I see Alaska and Hong Kong and South Korea.
Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Washington and
Texas.
Wait. I've lost Australia. Where are my mates? Hold on. Aussie!
Whoa. This is the opening ceremony. Excuse me. Please go to your seats. They made me say that. I'd like to introduce Kyla Macharnik. She is the Future Problem Solving Program International Evaluation Coordinator, and she is here with us this evening to announce the award winners of the International Scenario Writing Awards.
Just for the record, all of those alumni are also internationally certified evaluators. This is true. So for those of you that are graduating, speak to your affiliate directors, reach out to us. You can too be an alumni that comes back and continues to do skits after you become a surgeon and lots of other talented things. Now, for the International Scenario Writing Champions, as you all know, these talented authors select one of the annual topics to write a creative, futuristic scenario on. In the junior division, in 5th place, from Kentucky, this year was Miss Eden Bridge Hayes with The Perfect Child. And in 4th place, from California, Tiana Zhu, scenario titled Regrets. In 3rd place, from Michigan, Isaac Brook with Pests in the Heartland. Second place, from Singapore, Rachel Claire Lim Yi Zi, Sugarbug. And in 1st place, from Massachusetts, Pranav Adanki with Prana Naradachi, Motherly Land. Congratulations to our Junior Division Scenario Writing Champion. Thank you. And in the middle division, in 5th place from Florida, Madeline Jabali with Ellis. In 4th place from Minnesota, Michelle Lee with the scenario title, Mimicking Minds. In 3rd place from Australia, Bradley Daniel with the scenario Hide and Seek. In 2nd place from Indiana, Ella Neely with Unauthorized Personnel. And in 1st place from Australia, Mila Dahman with The Tipping Point. And remember that the scenario writing champions will be presenting, so check your program to make sure you're there to hear their incredible stories. Congratulations to our middle division champions. And now for the senior division. In 5th place from New Zealand, Ella Taylor, scenario of Outbreak Day. In 4th place, from Kentucky, Megan Sluzerwitz, with scenario title, Human. In 3rd place, from Texas, Harmon Ragsdale, with Red Dust. Second place, from Australia, Caitlin Hickey, Horizons. And in 1st place, from California, Jeffrey Lee with The Dragon. Congratulations again to all of these phenomenal authors. And you can hear more about scenario writing and their wonderful stories on Saturday at 4 o'clock in the chapel. Thank you and congratulations.
At this time, I have the honor to introduce a very special guest this evening who will be announcing our adult awards for this year. Please know that the very kind words and all of the accomplishments of the adult awards are printed in your program, so you can reference those. But I'd like to introduce you to Jim Daughtry. He is going to announce this year's adult awards.
Good evening. Bonsoir. Guten Abend. Buenas noches. I am Jim Daughtry, the elder son of the late Dr. John Daughtry. Dr. Daughtry was the head of the teacher education program at St. Andrews College in Laurinburg, North Carolina, and was the first North and South Carolina director for future problem solving back before it was international. I am honored to be here this evening to represent him. As a youth, I admit I was mystified by the conundrum of a man with so little actual teaching experience being successful running a teacher education program. It was really only after he died and after I had read his dreadfully boring dissertation that I was able to understand his success at St. Andrews College, as well as his directing of the future problem-solving activities. His real gift, it seems, was in planning and organizing, be it a college department or a program for teaching our youth to evaluate problems and devise workable solutions to them. But through these efforts, he helped to guide the education progress of the eastern part of the Carolinas for many years after his death. My father was a friend of Dr. Torrance and an early adopter of future problem solving. He remained so devoted to the program that it continued as his life's work after his retirement from St. Andrews. His organizational ability was such that after he died, his widow Lee found everything necessary for continuing the future problem-solving year carefully laid out on his desk so that she or anyone else could have taken the baton and run with it. Lee and my brother worked together with Future Problem Solving Administration to establish this award to honor those who, like my father, excelled in their devotion to meeting the goals of future problem solving. I am pleased to represent them and him in honoring my father by announcing these awards in his name. The John Daughtry Award recognizes outstanding future problem-solving directors, evaluators, or staff. Nominees for this award may be a director, an evaluator, or a staff person who has made a significant impact on a future problem-solving program at the affiliate level. The winner of the John Daughtry Award this year is Christine Cassanander from Australia. In addition, we have the Keith Frampton Award, which recognizes outstanding future problem-solving coaches. Keith Frampton, the former head of the Burwood Teachers College in Australia, began the Australia-New Zealand Future Problem-Solving Program in 1988 and became the first national director in 1989. Upon retirement from the Burwood Teachers College, future problem solving remained his professional interest. At one point, he was dubbed Mr. Australia. There are two winners of the Keith Frampton Award this year: Debbie Benzinger from Washington and Jean Burton from Australia. Finally, we have the Jeannie Carlson Yes Award. The Yes Award recognizes outstanding volunteers and supporters. This award was created by Dr. Paul Torrance and Pansy, his wife, to honor a person who went above and beyond the call of duty for future problem solving. Nominees should be those who provide outstanding support at any level: parents, administrators, directors, or any others who are part of an organized future problem-solving program, a school district, a state education agency, or other support group. This year, the Yes Award is given to Steve Campbell of Kentucky.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Jim. You might have some prior years FPS shirts hanging around, but we want you to have the latest and greatest version. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
like to introduce David Connor, who is the Awards Committee Chair, who will share the recipients of the 2019 scholarship winners.
Good evening, everyone. The Creating the Future scholarships presented each year to an outstanding senior from around the world, or outstanding seniors. The scholarship's meant to honor a current FPS graduating senior from any FPS affiliate program who's exhibited exceptional dedication and participation in future problem solving. This year's recipients are Arushi Patil from North Carolina, who's not present this evening. Eleanor Liu from Kentucky. I don't see Eleanor. We'll give her a moment. And then Tahi Wiggins from Virginia. And we're going to give Tahi an opportunity to address you all.
So, I've had the incredible fortune of attending 5 international conferences over the years. Clearly, I love being here. Each year I walk away with a renewed sense of energy and hope, and a reminder of how truly meaningful FPS is. Now I have to be honest, back at home I'm not the most social type. I certainly have friends, but not many with whom I feel that I can truly connect. You see, I love discussing the big, tough questions. Those questions that affect all of humanity now and in the future. And as I'm sure many of you have found, there aren't a lot of middle school and high schoolers who often talk about issues like de-extinction, biosecurity, or the future of criminal justice systems. And yet, that's what FPS is all about, discussing these big questions and bringing together diverse minds from around the world who love attacking problems like this from every angle. That's all of you. So I said I wasn't all that social back at home, but anybody who's met me at an international conference, whether it's haggling over souvenirs at the Memento Exchange or joining in renditions of old classics at the variety show, they would certainly not describe me as quiet or reserved. On the contrary. That's because here I'm with my people. You all are not only creative and intelligent, you're incredibly quirky, kind, and funny. So thank you. But hang on. It's not all warm and fuzzy. I have my own big question for all of you. FPS equips all of us with an invaluable framework of skills. We learn to solve problems completely and holistically, from beginning to end, but also from the inside out. We are prepared to evaluate issues critically, creatively, collaboratively, and compassionately. We are prepared to ask big questions about big issues and work with others to come up with even bigger solutions. This is not something we should take lightly. So I ask you all, are you up to this challenge? Now, it's an immense honor to be awarded with this scholarship, but I accept it with the recognition that I must continue to ask these big questions and to think critically and creatively about problems that affect us all. So I charge all of you to do the same. I charge you to connect with your fellow FPSers. I speak from experience when I say that they are some of the most innovative, inspiring, and wonderful people in the world. Talk with them about these big questions and inspire others to evaluate life with an open mind, but a critical eye and a forward-thinking perspective. Together, let's continue to create the future. Thank you.
I know many of our community problem-solving teams right now are checking their watches and making sure they're going to have enough time to go finish their setup. We will dismiss you as the first group when it's time, so please stay seated until it's time. Right now in our program, we would like to go beyond the Beyonder. For as long as I've been involved in future problem solving, there's been the Beyonder Award. We'll hear more about this year's award on Sunday. But I've always wondered to myself, what happened to that team from the year before? What did they continue doing when they got back home? So we're starting something new with this year's opening ceremony. We're gonna go beyond the Beyonder. We're gonna hear a little bit about last year's award winners and hear what they've done since last June.
Can you imagine?
Nothing ever being the same. Changing. Changing houses. Changing faces. Changing places. Different schools. Different beds. And a trash bag filled with everything you have.
I'm Gabe Conley, president of Foster Friends. Jade, can you please share with us how our project began?
Our project began when a little girl at our school was taken out of her home and put into foster care. She would come into school day in and day out, telling these horrific stories that happened to her while she was at her house. One time she told us how she was locked into a closet with little food and no water. This little girl was given a black trash bag and 5 minutes to collect all of her personal items into the black trash bag. We wanted to make sure that this never happened again, so that's when we decided to come up with our project, Foster Friends. At first, this project was all about women, but now it's just about helping others, children like me. A child, a heart, a friend. We are Foster Friends.
We are members of the Highland Elementary CNPS team. Winning the Beyonder Award is a great honor for our team. Foster Friends sparked a fire in our team for serving the less fortunate.
Our project started because we had a friend in our class removed from her abusive home and placed in foster care. We wanted to make sure all transitions to foster homes would be easier for children by giving them new backpacks filled with personal items.
Through the use of YouTube and social media, Foster Friends grew from providing backpacks in our community to helping start Foster Friends organizations at schools in 3 different states.
After international competition in Wisconsin, we knew that we wanted to build on the work of Foster Friends. Receiving the Beyonder Award allowed us to expand our work with those living in extreme poverty. The Beyonder allowed us to dig deeper into the root cause of the foster care epidemic.
The need for foster care was just a symptom of many problems in our community, including drug addiction, homelessness, mental health problems, and a lack of job skills. We invite each of you to find us at the Community Problem Solving Showcase to see how we have moved beyond the Beyonder.
You can see why Dr. Torrance coined the word Beyonder, because these are truly the projects that are immeasurable. We cannot end the opening ceremony without recognizing all of the people who make this event happen. All of you are here because of your affiliate directors in your areas. Let's give them a hand. If you will be evaluating, please wave your hand wildly. We want to say hi to you. We probably won't see our global issues or scenario writers again and evaluators until Sunday, so we want to wish them well as they go get busy on all our work tomorrow afternoon. Thank you so much to the volunteers that are here today who've come from near and far to help this program run smoothly. We couldn't do it without you. And another group that must be thanked this evening is the staff of the International Office. We work year-round to make this event bigger and better than the one before, but we do it because of the amazing kids that we see on stage, that are in the programs, that are doing practice problems. You are the reason we do this. Thank you from our staff, and thank you to our staff. Another way we're going to celebrate our 45 years of problem solving is with some prizes. So if you look on the back of your name badge, there are 45 of you who have a 45-year sticker. If you have that sticker, you have won a prize. Oh, we have some winners over there. You can stop by the Zippy Mart and claim your prize. Where are our prize winners? Who's got prizes out there coming to them? Yeah, I hear some prize winners over there. So stop by the Zippy Mart and claim your prize. Congratulations. Page 3 of your program, I know we've all had a chance to read that thoroughly, but page 3 of your program has a lot of reminders on there. Please do take some time to read page 3. There's information there about your neck wallets and badges that must be worn to all events. Information about your keys. Please, please, please put them on the ring around your neck wallet so that you don't lose them. Please be mindful of quiet hours, especially tonight before competitions, so that tomorrow you can report to your competitions on time. Please be sure to check Lost and Found. That's at the info spot in the Berkshire Dining Hall. That's where we'll have a lot of items. We've already had a few things turned in. Holly Edwards, we have your name badge. There were some really cool Black Oakley glasses last night at the appreciation dinner, and Community Problem Solving has had a black change purse turned in. So please be very careful to keep track of your stuff, and also visit those places if you know that. It looks like there's some t-shirts flying around. Thank you, Damien. He's got some free fun t-shirts out there. Before I dismiss CMPS, please email your photos to the slideshow so that you can be seen on the slideshow Sunday. Use the hashtag ProblemSolved. If you're interested in Zippy News, meet on the stage at the end. If you'd like to join the chorus or the other fun events, please do so as noted in the program. This officially concludes the opening ceremony. Thank you so much for being here. Don't leave unless you're CMPS. Let's let our CMPS